guys, I'm Abe L-P.
And I'm Richard McCoy.
And we're going to be talking about the Oscars today. And so I got a long list of things to talk about, so I'm going to have to move a little bit quick. So let's just start with the good things. So first off, I thought this was the best in quite a while, especially considering the technical blunders of the last few years, like where they announced the Best Picture winner back in 2016. And last year, it was just a complete mess with camera problems and just somebody talking after the telecast ended, and it was just a complete mess. And the way that they got rid of this problem is that this was the first year in nearly 30 years that they had no host. And this happened, in case you didn't know, this is because Kevin Hart, who was originally scheduled to host, got fired because of some homophobic tweets that resurfaced from his past. And so this year they decided to just run it hostless. And what they did was they just had some celebrities come in and present awards, which greatly improved the pace. They cut out all those awkward jokes that nobody likes, like where they were, and nobody wanted those. It was just there to fill out the time, where they would like do things like bring in people from the street or I don't know, like airdrop popcorn into the audience, and it was never good. And so this year they cut that all out. They just kind of trimmed the fat and made it into a much shorter, more compact experiences. But so that's some of the context of why this is better this year. But let's just jump into the winners though. So first off, the big winner of the night in terms of the amount of awards won was Black Panther by far. It won.
Oh yeah, I really liked the Black Panther one. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it won things like which ones did it win?
Set design and costume.
All right, yeah. That is actually pretty significant because the two women who won those awards were the first African American women in their category to ever win that particular Oscar, and so that is pretty cool. Also, Black Panther won Best Original Score for Ludwig Göransson, who is an incredibly talented composer who actually was pretty famous earlier this year for co-writing "This Is America" with Donald Glover.
Oh.
So that's pretty neat. He's definitely having a very good year, especially with his Grammy wins a couple of weeks ago. But in related news, Spike Lee, who is considered one of the great filmmakers of our generation, finally got his first Oscar win. He had won honorary awards in the past, but this is his first competitive win. He won for Best Original Screenplay for his film *BlacKkKlansman*, which is a very good movie. Please watch *BlacKkKlansman* if you haven't seen it. It's a very good movie. So that was great to see. Also, Olivia Colman, who starred in The Favorite this year, she won her first Oscar, which I'm happy just because not only did she give an incredible performance, but Lady Gaga was not good in *Star Is Born*, and she was projected to win. I did not like her very much at all. I thought it was a very wooden performance, and I think she got a lot of mileage over the fact that it was her first time starring in a major role and in a motion picture. Does not matter. It was a garbage movie and did not deserve nominations. And actually, *The Star Is Born* didn't do very well at the Oscars at all this year. It won one award for Best Original Song, also for Lady Gaga, but she deserved that because she's a good songwriter. But and also Roma, easily one of the best films of last year, won quite a few awards. Won Best Director for Alfonso Cuarón. It won Best Foreign Language Film and Best Cinematography also for Cuarón, which is obviously great because he's a really talented director. Most people probably know him as the director of Harry Potter and the Prisoners of Azkaban, but he also directed Gravity and Children of Men. So he's a really good filmmaker. This is actually going to be the 5th director in the past 6 years who is Mexican to win Best Director, which is pretty awesome considering that considering how terrible the Academy's representations of minorities has been in the past. This is a great improvement. And also, the critical darling Spider-Man Spider-Verse.
Ooh, that one, I couldn't really get into that one. The animation-wise is a bit too plastic looking. It's like you take a picture of Toon Link and you put it into Spider-Man, and that's what you get. Yeah,
it could be a little rough in the eyes. I know that was a pretty common complaint. I thought it was actually a pretty solid film overall.
The story was pretty fine. It's just the way that they animated it. It looks too fake to happen.
Yeah, but yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. Like, it is very hard on the eyes. I think that's mainly because it's a pretty new medium.
It's pretty new.
And but I am glad it won the Oscar. It's a way more original movie than most of the other nominees. I would have been happy also if Isle of Dogs, Wes Anderson's newest movie, won, because I think Wes Anderson is an incredible filmmaker. He's very original. He doesn't try to be he doesn't try to conform too much, and that's great. Though I'm done trying to be positive about this because I have
let's get into the bad stuff.
I have a lot of stuff to complain about. First off, Bradley Cooper cannot sing. When he performed Shallow, it was terrible. He sounded
absolutely terrible.
He sounded like a 30-year-old dad trying to do his best Eddie Vedder impression at karaoke, and it was terrible. I hated it.
That is disgusting.
And okay, also their new format was a little incohesive. I just chalked that up to them trying out a new format. That being said, I couldn't tell if we were still on commercial break, and so I went to get food or something, and
next thing you know, you missed like 5 minutes of the TV show.
Yeah, and it was terrible. Okay, I feel like we have to talk about this. Green Book won Best Picture. It did not deserve Best Picture. It is a perfectly fine movie. It is just incredibly inoffensive and will not be remembered fondly in 5 years. That's just kind of what happens.
Okay, as a viewer standpoint, where do you stand on this? Like, what didn't appeal to you?
The thing is, I liked it. It was just so generic, and it was just like a movie that could have been made in any time between like the 80s and like last year. And because of that, it is just so inoffensive. It was pandering, and the filmmaker's only other credit is Dumb and Dumber. That's his only other notable credit is freaking Dumb and Dumber. And so. And that aside, that doesn't speak for the quality of this movie, but it was just so generic, and especially since we had Spike Lee and Alfonso Cuarón all directing movies this year, it just feels so. I don't know. It feels like a repeat of when Crash won over Brokeback Mountain and Shakespeare in Love won over Saving Private Ryan. It just feels like history repeating itself, and it really sucks.
So you're saying this is bad? This is like a bad omen type thing.
What it means is that the Academy hasn't changed that much. I like to think that it's been getting better because it has been awarding some more original, different movies, such as 2016's Moonlight or 2017's The Shape of Water. But there were just so many more politically relevant and more innovative films nominated that Green Book winning just feels like a big disappointment. And it really sucks.
Okay, well, what's your point on the Academy then?
Well, I think it's worth noting how the Academy votes. It is I believe it's called a preferential ballot. It's where they have all the nominees and they place in the order of their particular choice. And because of that, they weigh it and whichever one, like when weighed with all the Academy members, whichever one is highest on the list is the one that typically wins. This is so what this often means is that people place movies that are incredibly inoffensive, kind of mid-range. So that means that there's like really a movie where it's really well received by certain members, but really poorly received by other members. It's going to be really low on the list.
So you're saying this is more like a bias type thing?
Well, what happens is that they usually pick the least offensive ones, so that nobody will be offended, and this leads to really generic and just uninteresting movies winning. But at the same time, it's also, like I mentioned earlier, Moonlight winning. That was because the front runner that year was La La Land. I'm sure you all remember the Oscar mishap of that year.
Oh yes, I remember that movie. That was a pretty good one.
But what happened is that a lot of people love La La Land, but there was also a pretty big portion of the Academy that hated La La Land.
Didn't something happen with the announcements?
Yeah,
and like them not.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, that.
And so what happened was because La La Land was really high on certain lists and really low on certain lists, it kind of fell in the middle. And because the ultimate winner, which was Moonlight, was pretty consistently second and first place, it ended up winning just because of how low La La Land ended up getting weighed. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what happened with Green Book. The two front runners outside of Green Book were Roma, which is an incredible movie, but also a little inaccessible. It's foreign, it's black and white. And The Favorite, which is an incredible historic drama, but also very weird and very inaccessible for people who aren't in the mood for an odd, provocative drama. Mm-hmm. And because of that, those movies probably got rated very poorly by certain members of the Academy, probably the older and the more conservative ones.
Okay.
And because of that, they probably got weighed very low. And since I think that most people just didn't have that strong of an opinion about Green Book, it usually fell in like the third and fourth place, those slots. And so what I'm thinking is what happened is that it just ended up getting pushed up to the first place by default. And same with Black Klansman, the Spike Lee movie I was talking about. That was also it was a very solid movie. I'm sure it was very high on a lot of voters' lists, but it probably got weighed down by a lot of people who thought it was just like baiting, trying to bait attention and like attacking white people, which it wasn't, but that's how, it's just the way.
So you're saying like them attacking white people is like a bad joke, kind of?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably perceive it that way. Spike Lee is a notoriously provocative director, but oh man, Green Book is not going to age well. I'm just saying, it's just for those of you who don't know about the previous years I mentioned, were Crash and Shakespeare in Love won. Those were very controversial choices over movies which are now considered classics. The movies they won over were Brokeback Mountain, which is considered one of the earliest examples of representation of homosexuals in a major motion picture, and Saving Private Ryan, which is obviously considered one of the greatest war films of all time. Mm-hmm. But because of they're also very controversial for that time, they tend to get weighed lower, and that is what happened here.
Okay.
And I don't know. Overall, I thought this was a pretty solid ceremony. I just think they need to clean up the format a bit, not let Bradley Cooper sing again, and just try to be a little bit ballsier with your choices. Don't be afraid of pissing people off by picking a controversial movie. That's all I have to say about that. So with that, that's all I have really to say about this. Do you have anything to add?
I know we're a bit backtracking here, but what's your standpoint on the no hosts idea?
I think it went way better. I think it went way smoother last year. The last few years they had Jimmy Kimmel host. He was fine, but at the same time, a lot of time it just kind of bogs down this pace, and the longer pace is kind of why the viewership of the Oscars have been dropping. And I think this quicker pace where they just announce award after award works a lot better.
So it's like they announce it, they go up, they get their thing, and then they go back down.
And then they move on to the next award. We don't have any of those weird bits or...
We don't have any nice small performances. We don't have any weird jokes happening here and there.
Yeah, there's nothing of the Hollywood people throwing sandwiches at people who watching A Wrinkle in Time, which was what happened last year, and it was incredibly bizarre, and I don't think that ever should have happened, and I kind of wish I could unsee it. But I think that's overall it's fine. Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks for watching this weird edition of the Highland High News.
The Oscars segment.
Yeah, the Oscar. Your very hot take of the Oscars.
Yeah.
With that, see you next time.